In this video, we're going to enhance the job queue class by adding an ability to it so that it can go on ahead and resume the operations that haven't been done before. Okay, so you can imagine that we could queue a few operations. Let me actually show you how this is going to work out. So right here, I'm just going to start a new resize, and this is actually going to be completed pretty quick. So let's first upload something quite large. So this one, and I'm going to upload it. And let's say that now I want to resize it, so I'm going to click on here. So let's schedule this one and also another one by 1800 and 900. All right, so now we have two processes, two operations scheduled, but let's go ahead and restart our application. So right here, I'm just going to hit Control C. So now our application is not doing anything else. But if you look here, well, we have the processing right now. So we haven't completed these processings yet. Okay, but I just shut down my application. But let's go ahead and resume the application and see what's going to happen. I'm going to run it. And now I'm going to just refresh, just click on resize, and you can see that it's telling me that these two are still being processed. But are they? Let's check and see what's happening in our activity monitor. Let's see if we have an FFmpeg application, and as you can see, we don't. Okay, so we are not processing anything right now. It says that we are processing, but nothing is happening. Because if you think about it, well, we're not actually doing that. These are now being kept in our database. So if you go into the database, right here for this video, which is this one, using a programming calculator, here you can see that we've got two operations scheduled. Okay, and they say processing equals true because, well, we had this state and then we just shut down our application, so they're just going to be kept like that. So what should we do in this case? Now, one possible solution to this is that as soon as we restart our application, and one good point would be right here. So as soon as we are initializing our job queue, so when we say new job queue, we are just running the constructor. So right here, we can go ahead, we can read our database, and we can just see all the resizes. We can just get the list of all the processing trues, and we can just go ahead and add them to our queue. So we could just enqueue all of these operations. So we're going to find these objects, and we're going to have the video ID, and we're also going to have the width and height. So we can just go ahead and say enqueue that one. All right, so let's start by doing this. If you feel like you can do it, take this as a challenge. So right here in the job queue, in the constructor, just go over the database, find all the objects that have the processing equal true, just grab them all and then enqueue all of them. All right. It could take 10 to 15 lines of code to do this operation. So you have to say db.videos.for each, and then just get object keys for video.resizes, and then loop over those and check all the processing values. And every time you get a true, so processing true, you're just going to get the width and height. So we're just going to split the key and then just call enqueue. So pause the video right now and think about this for a few seconds, and I'll catch you back in a sec. All right, so let me now show you my solution. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to loop through the videos from our DB and find all the processing true items and just add them to the queue. And that just means enqueuing. So we just need to call the enqueue method right here. All right, let's do this. So we first have to update, so db.update, because we're going to read from our database. And now we're going to go over the videos, so db.videos.for each. We're going to get a video object. And then right here in the video object, we want to get the keys of the resizes. So I'm going to say obj.keys. This is how we can get the list of all of the keys inside of an object in Node. And well, I better say JavaScript because it has nothing to do with Node. It's just a JavaScript concept. So we're going to get all of these keys in an array. So video.resizes. Okay. And this is going to be an array. So you know what? Let's just go ahead and log this. So I'm going to say this. And now I'm just going to save. And right here in the console, you can see that this is what we get. Okay, I don't have to do anything. I don't have to hit a route or something. This is going to be run as soon as we restart our application. And you can see that now we get the list of all of these items. So now all that we have to do is to just loop through this one and check the processing values of each one of them. And if one of them is true, we're just going to enqueue it. So let's do that. So I'm just going to remove the log. And let's now loop through all of them. So dot for each. And we want to get each key. And what we want to do is that we want to first grab the width and height. So we want to say these two equal to key dot split. So we want to split by a comma. And actually not a comma. What should we split with? We should split with letter X. Okay. So I'm just going to add this one right here. And then at this point, we've got the width, we've got the height, and also we've got our video object. So video ID. So we can just go ahead and enqueue. So we can just say this dot enqueue, and the exact same object that we had before. So type is resize, and then video ID is video dot video ID, and then width is just this, and then height. Hey, this is Future Me, and I just forgot to do something in the main video, and that is to only enqueue if the processing is actually true. In this case, we're just enqueuing all of them regardless of whether they're being processed or not. So let's just fix this pretty quick. All we need to do is to just have an if statement right here. So if video dot resizes, and then the key, and then dot processing. So if this is true, if we are processing this particular item, we just want to do the enqueue. If that is not the case, we just want to skip. We don't care about that. Okay, so just make sure to keep this if statement right here. We're going to now go back to the main video, and you're going to notice that I don't have the if statement, but please just make sure to keep it. All right, now back to the main video. And that's all that we have to do to resume the operations. Now, I'm not going to save right now, because if I save, it's just going to trigger all of these enqueues. But let's clear the terminal. Let's also open up the activity monitor. Right now you can see that I don't have any FFmpeg applications running, and now I'm going to save. So I'm going to save, and if I go over to my activity monitor, you can see that now we have an FFmpeg application running in the background. But the problem is that the CPU usage right now is, well, 0%. And the reason is FFmpeg is actually now waiting for something. Because if you run FFmpeg and you already have an output, because, well, we ran it the first time, it's not going to actually work. It's going to give you a prompt and tell you, do you want to overwrite that file? And, well, no, it's just waiting for a yes or no response. And we don't want this. But there's a quick fix. So right here in the resize, something that we can do is to specify an option to just say always yes. And that is simply -y. So this means that whatever question you're going to ask us, just assume that they're going to be y. Okay. And now let's save and try it one more time. So I'm going to save. My application is now restarted. And now I've got the FFmpeg application, but my CPU usage is not 0. It's now actually doing something. So it's going to wait for this now. It's going to complete this. It's now working on this maybe 1800 or 1900. I don't know. But the point is that we are actually doing an operation. Okay. So if I refresh right now, well, they are saying processing, and they're not wrong. They are actually being processed. So we can now go on ahead and restart our application as many times as we want. And every time we do that, we're going to just resume all of these operations. So we're just going to grab all the videos that are being processed, and we're just going to restart all of them, just like this. So now if I wait a while and then come back, I'm going to see that these two operations will be done. Okay. Now, while we're at it, I want to just mention one more thing about resource management. If you take a look here, this is just using all of my CPU cores. You can see that my idle CPU is now only 1%, in a lot of cases just 0, because FFmpeg is just eating up all of my CPU. Now, this could be something that you want, but actually we don't want it to have the highest priority possible. We want our Node application to have the highest priority possible. Because you can imagine, let me just stop my Node application. We don't want users to wait for their requests when we are doing an operation. We don't care. We can just let the videos being processed. We don't care if it's going to take 4 hours or 4 hours and 30 minutes. We don't really care much about that. What we really care about is that when a user sends a request to our application, we just want to do it as soon as we possibly can. We don't want to let the users sit in the background and wait for their login to finish for minutes or seconds. We just want that process to be as instant and as fast as possible. But the resize operations, well, we're just telling the users to check back in a few hours, so no one really cares that much. Of course, it's always nice to do that faster, but, well, it's nicer to do the requests faster. So something that we can do, and every time you face an issue like this, that you might be running multiple processes at the same time, and you don't want one of them to just eat up all of your CPU. You want one of your processes maybe to have the highest priority possible. Now, we're not actually going to talk about resource management and Unix that much, but I'm just going to give you a few keywords that you can research later on. So if you want to do this in production, you need to, well, first learn about these things so that you know how to manage your resources. One is using the nice command. So we've got this nice thing, and each process that you have opened up on your machine has a nice value. And it starts from one number, it goes up to another number, and if I'm not mistaken, it's -20 up until 19 or something like this. Doesn't really matter. And if a process has the lowest nice value,